Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Linda Armstrong here. Today is Friday, November the 16th, 2018. It is 4 p.m. New York time, 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, 9 p.m. London time, and if you're in Sydney, Australia, it's 8 a.m. Good morning, Sydney, Australia. And this is your second daily dose of happy for this Friday, and last, sadly, for the weekdays this week, but it's a good day. It's a day where we are maybe a little prematurely, although you can't be really too premature about these things. We're prematurely being grateful in anticipation of Thanksgiving Day. Here in the United States, we celebrate Thanksgiving this coming Thursday, the annual holiday that dates back to the country's founding, when we're first. I shouldn't say founding. When the country first had its immigrants come over from Europe. And it originated in Massachusetts and became a national holiday and continues to be so to this day. But it's also a great opportunity to focus on gratitude, which, Linda, you pointed out very astutely in our email exchange. That's a big thing. That's something we need to spend more time doing. So, yeah, we're going to spend a little time talking about gratitude today. And I promised you I would start off the podcast by telling you a story of gratitude that I experienced today.
Okay.
As you know, and you actually posted about it on Facebook, we had a pretty major and kind of a surprise snowstorm here in the northeastern part of the country. And that snowstorm, I don't know how much snow you got. It left us with about 8 inches this morning. That has since melted down to about 3, but that's what we started off with, was 8 inches. And when I got up to do the podcast this morning with Tom and Alex, one of my cats always likes to go outside, so he was outside. And we have this outside of our front door. There's this cart with like a lobster trap on top of it, which is kind of weird, I know. But he likes that. It's kind of like his home, and he's either inside there or he's underneath the cart. The cart is like one of these carts you find in a factory where they're carting stuff around, that kind of thing. So it's very, very low, and he loves to get under there too because it makes him feel safe. Well, I'd forgotten that, of course, with the snowstorm, that means they're going to bring the snowblower through and they're going to blow the snow out. And when that happened, it was in the middle of, actually toward the end of the podcast. And, of course, he got freaked out and jumped out of the cart and just went bounding off through the snow to find safety. Well, after the podcast was over, I went out to look for him, also to move the cars and things like that because they have to plow the parking lot. And we have, to the side of our building, there's grass, and then there's a steep hill going down to like a wetlands. Lot of wildlife down there. And that's where his tracks showed that he had gone. And at first I wasn't even sure they were his tracks because they were really far apart for a cat. And I mean, at first my reaction was, that's too far apart. That can't be a cat. But then I remembered he's also a very long cat. He was running full flight. So, yeah, I guess they could have been his, and it turned out they were his. After I was looking for tracks everywhere, and I really couldn't find any other way he could have gone, so I decided that's where it must have been. I went over to where the wetlands are. Now, the wetlands are down about, I'm going to say a 15 to 20 foot, very steep drop. If you were a skier, it would be the equivalent of a drop for an expert trail. That's how steep it is.
Wow.
And it was full of snow, and I could see these tracks going down to the edge and then disappearing. And there's water down there, and there's like a fallen tree and all this. And I'm thinking, well, this is not good. And so I come in the house. I'm looking for rope. We have no rope. Can't find any rope. Louise points out to me I have these 12-foot straps that I use to strap things down on the car or something like that if I need to move stuff. So I go and get my two straps. I put them together and create for myself like a 24-foot rope, which is really not far enough, but, you know, it's almost far enough. I tie it to a tree, and I carefully work my way down. As I'm tying it to the tree, I look down to where there is this tree that has fallen into the water, and it's got all these brambles and so forth, and I see my cat. And he's looking up at me, and I've been calling to him all this time, and I can see him there. He's meowing at me, so I'm calling to him, I'm coming, buddy, I'm coming. And so I start working my way down the hill, and as I get halfway down the hill, I look down, and he's gone. He's gone from the edge, and I'm thinking, this is not good. This is not good at all. So I worked my way down there. It took me a while to get down too. And the worst part is my 24-foot strap didn't reach all the way down. So I had to go extending to my length and so forth, and then working my way down to the shore the last 5 or 6 feet or so. I get down there and there's no sign of him. There's no sign anywhere. And I'm looking for tracks to see, did he go into the water? Did he fall in the water, go out? And there's like a little shore, 10, 15 feet out. Did he maybe fall into the water and went to the shore? No sign of him climbing out anywhere. And I'm looking around and I'm calling him his name and so forth, and he's not appearing. And this goes on for 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and 15 minutes, and 20 minutes. And now I'm getting really worried because, if he's drowned, I can't really help him there. If maybe he fell in the snow because the snow was pretty deep. And there were certain places where I could see where he could have fallen in the snow, but I couldn't easily get to them. I ended up calling my wife on the cell phone and having her call the maintenance people, and they brought some extra rope. So I had real rope to work with instead of those straps. Ended up with their help, and long story short, we ended up getting it so I could get it around my waist, tie myself so I'm secured. And they got secured to a tree up there, and then I'm working my way down there, and then I am just going into the water, going into the side of the bank and so forth, pulling snow out of the way, and then I finally go into the snowbank right below where he was standing. I pull it open, and a cat leaps out, jumps up onto the snowbank, and runs up the hill. Now, that's great news, and that's something to be grateful for. What's even more dramatic about it is that not 10 minutes before just before the guy showed up, I told Louise, because Louise had called me, I said, I don't know where he is. I can't find him. He could have drowned for all I know. I just don't know where he is. I can't find him. So we were fearing the worst. Now all of a sudden, great news. He's alive. He's doing great. Then I have to get back up the hill, and with the help of the guys from maintenance, they helped pull me up the hill, and so it all worked out very nicely. So talk about gratitude. I was so grateful. We got our cat back. Our cat did not die in frigid cold temperatures, buried in the snow. He could have been. He was buried in this drift. He quite clearly could not have gotten out. And it was a good thing I went and dug him out. But, it just kind of refocuses your mind when it's only a cat. It's not a human being, but cats are important. They're beings. They're human beings.
They're family.
They're family. Yeah, right. They're not human beings, but they're family. They're human. They're important beings. They're important life forms.
Yeah.
And they mean a lot to us. And, I'm just grateful that we got him. We got him back, and he's doing fine. It took him a while to get in the house. He wouldn't come in the house right away. He was, still in preservation mode, so he was running around for a bit. But we got him in, and he's doing okay. And so, all's well that ends well.
You also made it up.
Yeah, I made it up too. That was good too, because I actually went in the water at one point, not intentionally. I was pretty wet. I was pretty cold. I think I was running on adrenaline because it was really cold. That water was really bitter cold, but somehow I didn't notice it so much.
I hear an echo when I speak. Is that picking up for you too?
I'm not getting an echo, no.
Okay, well, hopefully it's not recording that way.
Yeah, I hope not. We'll find out.
Well, I'm happy that you're okay and that your cat's okay.
Yeah, me too. And it does kind of reinforce the value of gratitude. Because, when we found him and when I got him out and I saw him racing up the hill. By the way, he's also a very smart cat because he couldn't have gotten up that hill. It was pretty deep in snow. So he worked in my trail. That's where he was able to get his foothold to get up the hill, which was good.
Right.
But I was just like grinning ear to ear after that. And I was tired. You can imagine after an ordeal like that, I was really exhausted. But I was just thrilled. I was feeling so good that I didn't care that I was tired, And spent a good part of the afternoon just playing and petting him and feeding him and, tending to him and enjoying that he's in our lives still.
Our animals are our healers.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just anything. They are life,
Mm-hmm.
They're love. You would be crushed if something happened to him.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought something had happened. I thought I'd lost him. For a moment there, I was sorely tested on my faith that he was still alive. And yeah, it was intense. It was pretty intense. But healer, I hadn't heard of cats as healers. I think you're right about that.
Oh yeah.
And
animals are healers.
Cats, dogs, all pets really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dogs in particular.
And not only that, they can shift your vibration like that.
Just like that. Oh yeah. Yeah. Petting my cats is one of my items on my list if I need to get a pick-me-up. And it's
Yeah.
exactly right. They help you just shift really, really fast. Dogs in particular are known for just total unconditional love. I mean, it doesn't matter what your day's been, doesn't matter, when was the last time you saw them, it doesn't matter, if last time you saw them you forgot to feed them. Unconditional love. They're jumping up, they're licking you, they're just so happy to see you every single time. And that's wonderful.
And they live in the moment. Like my
Totally.
dog, sometimes, your animals will cling on to one family member more than the other, right? So
Right.
we've had a dog before that was totally my dog, like couldn't live without me, right? But this one that we have now is my husband's dog. Now my husband can go out in the back shop, do some work, come back even minutes later. Doesn't matter if it's minutes or hours. My dog, it's like 10-second Tom, My dog sees him and goes crazy, so happy to be home, Yeah, totally. They're just unconditional love.
They are.
And they totally live in the moment. And they're very perceptive. Like,
They are.
Like, my dog will sometimes bark at nothing, but I know he's not barking at nothing. He's looking off at something in the room. He's seeing spirit.
Oh, I see.
They're aware, like, they can see through the veils better than we can, And,
I've wondered about
like,
that.
well, who's there? Is my sister there? Come on, let's talk.
I've wondered about that at many points because you're right. There are a lot of stories and incidents and so forth where, I mean, I can remember times with my own cats where I'm sure the cat thinks that he or she is looking at something and I can't see what it is. And it makes me wonder, is it something like that? Is it something that they're seeing something that's there that I can't see?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
So our pets are something really to be grateful for no matter what. And which is great because then on any moment in time, you can always find the feeling of gratitude, that high vibrational energy by connecting to your pets.
It's true. Yeah. And in fact, gratitude is a good place to start if you're not feeling in your best mode. If you're feeling depressed or angry or fearful or, just generally down or whatever. Gratitude's a great way to climb out of that quickly because when you start focusing on the stuff that is in your life, the people in your life, the roof over your head, the food on the table, all that kind of thing. When you start focusing on that in a big way, it climbs you out pretty quick. I mean, unless you've got some really, really serious stuff going on, it'll climb you out pretty quick. And even if you do have serious stuff going on, I mean, I've talked to people who have really, really bad stuff going on and reminded them of that. And if only for a brief instant, you can just see their mood lift. They don't necessarily hold it well, but their mood lifts. So yeah, gratitude's a really quick way to get there.
Well, and the other thing too is when you can be in that energy of gratitude, you're opening yourself up to receiving more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So you really want to be consciously aware of spending time in gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even every day, just thinking, whatever you want to call that, universe, God, spirit, source, thank you for my life.
Mm.
No matter what's going on,
Right.
you're alive.
Yeah, how about that?
You can always find gratitude for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty important, and really everyone here on this, I think everyone listening to this or seeing this knows that you manifest through high vibration.
Right.
Well, you manifest through low vibration.
Well, you
don't
manifest both ways. Exactly. You manifest the wrong stuff.
Right. So you want to be in that high vibration, and what better way to get there than gratitude? And in fact, you could even kind of play a game with yourself. Like you're so down, you're like, there's nothing to be grateful for. Nothing good happened to me for the last year.
Right.
So you know what? Be grateful for something that happened to you prior to that.
Yeah, sure.
Or find a little thing. You know what? Do you enjoy a TV show? Be grateful that you can escape for that hour, half hour watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know we want to do a show on comedy at one point when Carlos is able to join us.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to raise your vibration. So thank you to all those comics and all those people who can bring humor into your life, because boy, what a vibration lifter that is.
And you mentioned
There's
Carlos.
always something you can be grateful for.
We'll be grateful when he comes back next week. Unfortunately, he can't join us today. Poor Carlos is dealing with a termite issue in his apartment, and you got to deal with that one. You just can't take time to do a podcast when that's going on. But the good news, and I'm sure he's grateful for this, is that he's got pest control people on the scene taking care of it, so it's going to get eradicated. It's going to get solved. But the guy's ability to feel grateful is being tested. We will get a report card from him next week. See how grateful he is. I bet you it's going to be pretty high. I bet you it's going to be a very high level.
Actually, it'll be interesting to see, even after the fact, what this experience actually brought to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really believe that all experience is bringing you something. Mm-hmm. There's a purpose to all things. Mm-hmm. And you don't think you see a purpose in having an infestation of termites in your place, right?
It's certainly not initially.
But who knows? Let's see what comes up for him that this pushes him towards, or that puts a spotlight on in some way.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I suspect that we're going to hear some pretty cool story coming out of it. Especially once he's in a place where he can laugh a little bit more at it. It's a little hard to laugh when you're in the middle of that one. But
he's got to call one of his comic friends to do a skit for him.
Exactly. Yeah. But when I exchanged text with him before the show, he was actually, I think, in a pretty good mindset, because he was just profusely apologetic about missing the podcast. I'm thinking, you got termites to deal with. Don't worry about the podcast. It's not big of a deal. But it was to him, which tells me he was in a pretty good place overall mentally, that he was thinking about, oh, geez, I'm letting the podcast down. That would be like 53rd on the list of priorities, and yet he's thinking about that. So he had to be in a pretty good place.
Yeah, but it's nice because, we like hanging out with each other. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And he is funny.
He's
a fun guy too.
For.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for the fact that he's joined the podcast, because he and Alex and Drew all came on roughly about the same time, about a month ago, and they have really been fabulous for this podcast. I mean, they brought all kinds of interesting energy and ideas and a much younger perspective and so forth, and it's great. I just love it. So there's something to be grateful for right there. Now, I got a question for you. Abraham Hicks, you know how Abraham Hicks has the emotional scale, right? The guidance scale. And if you look at the various terms on that list, gratitude, I don't remember exactly. I think it's like number 3 or 4 on the list, something like that. Appreciation is part of the list of number 1. So they say appreciation is a higher level than gratitude. I'm wondering, do you think that's true?
You know what? Someone once explained that to me and it made sense, except I don't remember what it was. Sorry.
The explanation I've heard is that gratitude for some people tends at times to have a feeling of obligation attached to it. You're supposed to be grateful, that kind of thing, whereas appreciation doesn't usually have that attachment to it. So I think that's why Abraham says that appreciation is a slightly higher level. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of difference.
I don't know. Yeah, for me, it feels the same. Mm-hmm. If I were to feel it for myself, they feel comparable to me.
I mean, the only thing that really kind of surprised me about the whole thing is when I realized that it was listed as part of the number 1 for like joy, joy and appreciation are on that same level. I thought to myself, gee, I wonder if when I'm expressing appreciation, I'm really feeling it enough. I'm not sure I ever put it at number 1. Did I ever get that high? I don't know. It almost made me think, I got to focus a little bit more when I'm appreciating.
Well, but that's what's great about when you listen to an Abraham rampage of appreciation.
Right, yeah.
Because you cannot listen to that without getting into that energy.
That's true. That. Yeah, that's true. That I should add that to the list, actually. An audio recording of an Abraham appreciation does pick you up. And I have actually experienced that when I was feeling really, really down. It's nothing. I don't know if anything is going to pick you all the way up to the top, but it always moves me up at least 3 or 4 levels. It definitely puts me into a better feeling place listening to a rampage like that, especially if you have people laughing in the background, which almost always happens whenever they're doing it in front of a live audience, right? Because they're doing their rampage and people are tittering and laughing, and they're going more into it, and you hear more and more laughter. It just kind of picks you up a little bit. So,
but even to just start a rampage and just see where it goes, and just add a bunch of silly stuff in there, you just start cracking up at yourself. Then it's easier for it to just flow.
Yeah, it reminds me of something that Tom Wells and I did. This was about, I think it was last spring, in one of the podcasts. We took the process that Abraham describes of, let's see, what's it called? Wouldn't it be nice if? Wouldn't it be nice if? So you start a whole bunch of sentences with "wouldn't it be nice if," and then you identify what it is that, wouldn't it be nice if. And we did the whole show just going back and forth, thinking of things to say, wouldn't it be nice if to. And I swear, like halfway through it, we were giggling. we were laughing so hard, like, oh yeah. Well, how about this way? We're trying to keep raising the level each time that we're doing it, and it's fun when you do something like that because not only are you training the energy, you're doing it as a pair.
And it also brings up, and it also brings up gratitude because while you're saying, wouldn't it be nice if blah blah blah, you get into that feeling place of it, and then it's like you feel this gratitude for what would be nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couple of comments. Well, first of all, Jeffrey has gone hog wild in the comments section, so I have to acknowledge at least a couple of them.
Okay.
Let's see. He says, I would love to have an animalism conversation. Going back to the story about my cat, about Joy. He says, let's see, comics have the gift of finding the humor in tough spots. We all need the clowns that we create. Yeah, that's a good observation. Think of how money appreciates, okay? I hadn't thought of it that way. Using the word appreciation in a different way, that money appreciates. Well, that's true if you've got it invested, if it's compounding in some way. That's true. And then he follows up by saying, well, appreciation is compounded gratitude. That's an interesting way to look at it. So, yeah, good comments, Jeffrey. Thank you for that. And a few other people have clocked in. I'm trying to see. Hannah's saying hello. Hello, Hannah. And Paul's in. And yeah, so a number of people are clocking in saying hello, but I wanted to make sure I acknowledge Jeffrey for all of those comments. I think he put 7 of the 8 comments in so far.
I'm not sure good. I'm not sure what Jeffrey means by animalism.
I'm not sure what that is either. I mean, he'll probably post something to let us know, but.
How about I pull a card from the,
oh, sure.
Animal Spirit deck?
Yeah, let's see what you got there. You are the all-time champion when it comes to having card decks. You have more card decks than anybody I know.
Yeah, in fact, I actually brought them all home today. I've got about 30 or 40 of them.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Because I'll use them in meditation groups and I'll use them with clients. I like to go between different things, not always, pulling from a different point of view from a different person who created whatever that deck is.
Right.
So, all right. So let's see. We're going to pull a card. And, I've been using these a lot and they've really been, so this is for Jeffrey. All right, Jeffrey.
Oh, and Jeffrey posted, he said, animals as medicine. I guess that's what animalism is. Animals as medicine. Well, that's what
this is all about.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the electric eel spirit, but it's in the reverse position, upside down.
And what does that mean?
Okay, that's reverse. This is what it actually looks like, this card.
Okay.
Okay, so it's about bringing in your ideas to life. Let's see what it says.
All right.
I'm sure it'll speak to somebody. No doubt.
Jeff wants you to know he has decks also.
This is a brand new deck for me. And your animals are totally healing you, but also, I talk a lot about signs from spirit, and sometimes you have like a fox go across your backyard. Okay, well, what is the message? What is the healing that fox is bringing to you by just walking into your awareness?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No eagles? Look, I got a great eagle up there on the wall.
Yeah, beautiful.
Great messages. Okay, so the electric eel spirit in the reverse position, we're going upside down. It says, ideas need to percolate as they rarely download in detailed form. Have you too quickly dismissed an epiphany because you couldn't see where it might lead you? Have you rushed to follow the muse without taking time to contemplate the meaning of your aha moment? Perhaps your dream will take a different form from what you first imagined, morphing into something else that is even better. Spirit's plans are often hard to discern, but so much more satisfying once they have taken over your own predetermination. So maybe your big idea is taking more time to shape than you expected. Have you considered that you're meant to learn something in the process of bringing it into being? Commit to transformation and to learning any lessons this new venture will bring you. As soon as you see that your aha was even more valuable than you first realized, when you first felt it electrify you. Okay, I guess that usually they talk a little bit more about what the animal is all about, but it's this electric eel, and it's talking about this taking hold and really stimulating something within you, but not just acting on the first thing that comes to mind, letting it sit with you and grow and take on its own momentum, you know, being open for that inspiration that wants to come through.
Right.
And that's always something to be grateful for. You know, when you get some kind of, if you ever get an idea and it really lights you up, like you can feel your energy, like you can't wait to figure this out. This is kind of saying, let it sit. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you want to journal the different things that come up about what you might want to do with it. So, electric eel. I haven't pulled that one yet.
It's the idea, the word that came to my mind when you were talking about letting it come like that was clarity. When something comes out in a big way for me, the big thing is clarity. It's like I have a more clear idea of what X is, whatever X is. So if I'm getting something that clarifies for me, that's a reason for celebrating. That's a reason for being grateful. Because, wow, I actually got it, you know?
In fact, I wrote some notes before when you were talking. And the thing about animals is that they do live in the moment. They're present. They're very present.
Oh, yeah.
Like if we can be more in the moment and present, we can create so much easier because then we're not allowing that subconscious programming to take hold and maybe tell you why you're not good enough or why it can't be done or that it's already been done, you know, especially if an idea comes in that really sparks some interest or some excitement within you, some drive.
Right.
Then it's totally, if that energy comes in, it's totally in alignment with your soul and it's something to do with your purpose.
Okay.
So, I think this card is saying when those things come in, you just want to, instead of, I know I can do that. I can be so gung-ho and start working on it, where I might miss some really cool details that might want to be downloaded to me when I can get out of my head and not be in such a hurry.
That's a little tricky for me still because I have that tendency to want to be in the head and figure it all out. And it's a good point that you're making there that you don't really want to be there because you can't really receive anything there. You have to be. Well,
it depends on the energy that you're feeling. So if you're like feeling still in that motivated energy and it's just it's like, you know, like automatic writing. It's just rolling through you. Spirit's just talking. The ideas are coming, whether you realize or not how they're getting to you. But then when you start to feel your energy shift, where all the things come in, what you could do, what you should do, how fast it should take, you know, like when you start, it's really good if you start to monitor the energy that you feel, especially towards projects. Because I've done this many times where I might have been inspired to something. And I guess there's a reason this card's coming up because now we're talking about it. I might have been inspired for something and that energy was really good and that was driving it in a good way. But then something else takes over and it starts to become a little heavy, you know, like a little bit forced. And,
so when you're talking about energy, are you talking about emotional energy, emotional measurement of the energy, so to speak?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a feeling sense. I mean, everything is born out of the vibration you send out. So it's a frequency.
Right.
So we were talking about the frequency between appreciation and gratitude being so close.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then if you start getting down into some of the lower ones, and I don't have the chart in front of me, but I could see it in my head without being able to read it. You know, when you have to start, when you start like trying to push things to happen, then you're in a lower vibration.
That is true. And that one I'm familiar with. That's the one that I'm trying to get away from in a sense. I'm trying to
that's where you want to feel your energy. You want to take yourself back to that inspired action energy and not the one like, I should do this or it's got to be done this way because those people did it this way.
Somehow though, somehow I'm never able to get back. Or not never, but often I have trouble getting back. I mean, I can remember what I was feeling, but getting back to the feeling place, that's always, not always, that is often a struggle for me. That's often, it feels sometimes like it's out of reach. Like, why can't I get there anymore? I just felt that, you know, a minute ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, and I just can't seem to get there. And I don't understand why.
So maybe because then all the subconscious programs getting in the way. So, but maybe you can, have yourself start some kind of a rampage of appreciation about how you were feeling when that came through.
And that's a good idea.
Something about the idea that was coming through. And wouldn't it be nice if I handle the answers right now? And wouldn't it be nice if I can take that idea, maybe add, like cooking and add a little salt and a little, you know, and make this beautiful. You just come up with all these different things. And in my world, the sillier I get with those things, the easier it is to break free from that heavier energy and get back into that really creative. For me, it's always a childlike wonder kind of a space, where that creativity can just flow.
Jeffrey says, I am so grateful for this conversation. I'm glad that you're grateful for it, Jeffrey. That's wonderful.
Cool.
That's a good suggestion, though. I'm going to remember that one. Doing the rampage when I can't seem to. I was just there and I can't seem to get back. I'm going to try the rampage idea, see if I can get there that way. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because if you can even just have the presence of mind of, well, what if wouldn't it be nice if this rampage thing actually worked for me right now to put me back into that inspired.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I might as well try it. I've got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually ties into something I've been working on also, which is getting myself into that feeling of I've got nothing to lose. That you phrased that beautifully. Because there are times when I just feel myself kind of giving up, and I have this little argument that goes on in my head, like, no, don't give up. And there's a part of me that says, what's the point? It's not going to play out. No, don't give up. Keep going. Keep going. So that's a common thing. What do you mean?
That's like your inner child in there. That's your inner child in there telling you, wait, Walt.
Yeah, right.
It was there for a good reason. You felt really great about it. I'm going to take you there again.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I was just writing down, say it out loud. So you can close the door. No one has to hear you. Because when you put the voice out into it, not just in your head, you can have it start to take on more energy, really, than just being in your head. And it's kind of like when you write things down, you're putting it into the material world, into the matter world.
Is that why
with your voice?
Is that why when you do like a wouldn't it be nice if or some other process like that, it's an energy raising process. When you do it with somebody else, it's easier to do it because you're voicing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
You're putting it out there. It's not just stuck in here,
Yeah, because you're right. When it's inside, it's harder to get it going. But when you put it out, when you actually express it in a way, it comes out easier.
And so if you can be doing it in your car or in a room in your house where you're like, it doesn't matter who hears you, then you can just let nonsense spew out. And that is going to, nonsense, I'm meaning just being like in that maybe crazy mind, like without having the analytical mind dissecting what's true and what's possible.
Right.
Just make stuff up.
Yeah.
Like it really frees it out.
Well, it took me a long time to learn to even do that part because there was the rational part of my mind that says, well, no, that's not true. You can't make that part up. That's not okay. Until somebody pointed out to me that, well, I can do it like I did when I was a kid. I can pretend that it's
absolutely
happening. And pretending is a lot easier for me. I can handle that a lot better.
It's all about pretending.
Yeah, well, I know that now, but I didn't realize that before. I thought I was trying to create something that wasn't true. No, I can't say that's something that's not true.
You know what? I haven't followed your series that you're doing on, was it Neville Goddard book?
Yeah.
But isn't he one who put it out there that you want to reach to those the things that you want to create as if you already created it now and see yourself in that position, doing that, feeling that energy. I mean, Abraham talks about that. I mean, anybody really working in this world, where it all came from, I don't know originally. That's the thing. You want to get into that place of it already existing.
Right.
And you have to be, it doesn't exist right this second in your material world, right?
No, it doesn't. You're imagining.
So you make it up.
Yeah, you're dreaming it.
Why can't you make up something that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, he describes it as a dream, as if you're planning what your dreaming is going to be. And you're right. He uses the phrase "assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled" as his way of describing. Get yourself into the feeling place of it. Cindy Chavez and I have described it as a little vignette that you create. You create this little tiny scene where you're feeling and experiencing what's happening when whatever it is has shown up into your life. It has manifested into your life. And Cindy made a really good point that we're both lashed onto, which is it doesn't necessarily have to be an emotional feeling. It can actually be a sensory feeling. It can be either kind of feeling. So,
why not? Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be like, you're getting congratulated, so you can feel somebody shaking your hand, and that is part of getting into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Yeah, but you're right. That's a big Goddard concept.
Greg Braden would say the feeling is the prayer.
The feeling is the prayer? Okay.
feeling is the prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So really, when you get into that feeling sense, because that's the vibration once again.
Mm-hmm.
So when we can get into that feeling space of what it is, what we want. I mean, it's so easy for us to, why can we feel what we don't want so easy?
Yeah.
But we can, and we create through that. So to really just, it's all about just bringing your awareness to the here and now, like those animals can do, living in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and feeling what it is that you prefer, that you desire, as if it already happened.
That's true.
Because then you can make it up. I mean, that's how I healed my rotated tear cuff.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides just dumping the energy of love in it, but I totally attached to it. It's healed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did the same thing with my knee ligament. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Just imagining it was healed. And it did.
Yeah, it's already done.
Yeah. It was quite amazing.
And then
too.
we've actually talked about this in the show we did on living in the matrix, right? Because we want to connect to another space and time.
Oh.
But if there's something that hasn't happened yet, we're connecting to future time
Mm-hmm.
where it already exists. So why not put yourself there in your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
feeling it, living it,
Mm-hmm.
because of course that's going to bring it to us.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much conditioning that's kind of squashed us from actually just going to that place, which is so natural because we're born that way. What little kid can't make up a story that they are so convinced is real?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, especially a little kid, because little kids, they don't have the baggage of the big kids. So they just dive right into it. Like, yeah, let's play the game. Here we go.
Which is my point. It's our true nature.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're right.
How we come here.
Now, you mentioned the word prayer, and that's a word we often associate with gratitude. A lot of prayers are about gratitude. And I don't think that's accidental. Now, a religious person might think of that in a little bit different context from the way we do as in our deliberate creator context. But there's a lot of overlap between the two for sure, depending on how you use the word and what you mean for yourself when you say the word prayer. For me, prayer, this is something that came out of the Goddard conversation that Cindy and I had this week. If you look at the root of the word prayer or to pray, we usually think of that as making a request, and indeed that is one of the roots. But when you look at the root behind the root, and I can't remember exactly what the specific word was, when you look behind it, what you find, it actually means to interact with. So a prayer of gratitude is interacting with source energy using gratitude. And that starts to make a whole lot more sense to me than the traditional method. The traditional prayer, I got perhaps some blocks there because of my religious resistances. But when I look at it that way, now all of a sudden, I can latch onto that easily. That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the prayer is what is connecting to the desire, really.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, if you're praying for someone's healing, you're connecting to, at least for me, because I do energy work maybe, but I connect and I hold the space for that person already healed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the prayer and the energy that I send, is to see them already in that space of being whole and healed or whatever it might be, depending on whatever the situation is, but not in that, a lot of people think, and I think, I don't know if this is true at all, but I think it comes through religion, because I think I see it in my older generation of my family.
Mm-hmm.
They think that for them, if you show that you're worried, that's like you love them.
Yeah.
Right. So they go right to that. They go right to that space of pity, sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to show you how much they love you by holding the energy of where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Which is wrong.
It really is. I mean, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because it reinforces what I believe. But I know exactly what you're talking about. My own family, I can recall numerous times when that energy would appear exactly the way you described it. And it doesn't feel good. It actually feels pretty miserable. And the worst part is you're supposed to appreciate the fact that you're feeling miserable, which is, it's just not pleasant.
I mean, I've been trying to teach this to my mom, and she's getting it slowly, but she's getting it. I'm like, when you worry about that person or that thing or that situation in their life, you're just feeding it to last longer, because that's the energy you're sending to it.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather pretend that they got past that already, they have their solution, a miracle came, or whatever it is, Because even just in thinking that way, your vibration lifts up. So your energy you're sending out, of course, is a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to heal through these. I mean, when I do healing work, I'm channeling this really high vibration to where it brings tears to my eyes many times because it's so overwhelming, this energy of love, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah. And having experienced, doing the session with you, we did that show about what the session was like. I can give actual testimony to just how high your energy level gets because I can feel it. I was able to feel it during the session, and it is very, very high, which is great. I mean, I love that you were able to do that. In fact, I'm kind of aspiring to do the same thing myself to the extent that I can do it. And I was actually doing it yesterday with my wife in mind. My wife's been going through some difficult stuff. She's kind of under the weather. She's basically dealing with exhaustion from the gardening season, and the gardening season has come to an end, but now she's like in collapse mode, you know. And
right.
it's an interesting thing. I had tried to help her directly, and it actually led to irritability, and so I had to back off and remember that, oh yeah, well, I can hold her in that space in my mind of what it's like for her when she's at her best, and, you know, everything's, you know, hitting on all cylinders and all that kind of thing. And I did that.
Goosebumps. Spirit saying, yes, Walt. You got it, Walt.
Well, I did that. The irritability came up when I was trying to help her with dinner, and just it didn't work out right. So I walked out, and I walked out of the kitchen and into the room where I do the podcasts. And while I'm in here, I started putting her into that good feeling place. And I only had like a couple minutes to do it because a couple minutes later she calls me, you know, come help me to do this thing, you know. So I went to help her do that. So I probably focused on it for maybe a minute and a half, something like that. And within 10 minutes of that, her entire demeanor had changed. She was more energetic. She was talkative. She was saying, you want to watch a movie tonight? I said, no, not really. I want to do some meditation or maybe, you know, read a Hicks book or something like that. Oh, well, can we do it together? Oh, sure. Yeah, we could do it together. The whole energy had shifted, you know?
Awesome. Because I was just going to point out that you can't create for anyone else.
Right.
You can't influence by the vibration you're holding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And your example is perfect because I remember one time it was like New Year's Eve. I don't know if I told you the story about the deli clerk.
No.
I went to go get something like last minute at a deli.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was like all by himself, overwhelmed, working past the hours because the other guy didn't come in or something like this. And I could see this guy's energy, you know, and I gave him my order. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy needs something, you know? Mm-hmm. So I just stood there and I was just flowing, at the time I was just flowing Reiki, but it doesn't matter. It's just love. That's all Reiki is. It's just love, right?
Sure.
So I just was holding him in this space of feeling good and enjoying the rest of the evening, bringing in the new year, you know, just sending this energy to him while he's putting my stuff and getting it ready, packing it up. By the time he gave me my things, his whole energy changed.
Wow.
He even smiled, you know?
Yeah.
And like, he has no clue what happened.
No.
But it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Because, I couldn't change him, but I could hold this energy and flow it to him, and he could either absorb it or not. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. You can send energy. It's up to whoever to take it.
It's true.
But there's no wasted energy. If someone can't take it in, it'll just bounce to somebody else.
Well, you're making me realize that actually I have done this more times than I realized. Because you mentioned the deli clerk. When Louise and I will go out someplace, you know, we'll go to a restaurant or whatever, and we're waiting for some service of some kind. Invariably, one or both of us will engage with whoever the front person is, right? And it'll turn into a conversation because I'm very tall. That's a conversation starter all by itself. You know, how tall are you? You know, that kind of thing, and it just leads into whatever. But invariably, one or both of us will try to get the person we're talking to laugh. And we'll just do it, you know, by little plays on words and, you know, little teases and things like that. Nothing harmful, nothing mean-spirited or anything like that. And very often we will get them into that happy place. You know, for that moment, they're chuckling, they're laughing, they're making a joke, you know, on their own and so forth. And you can't see it. You can see it in their demeanor. You can see that it picks them right up. So I never really thought about that as being energy work. I just thought of it as, you know, interacting with somebody, repartee and all that kind of thing. But Now that I think about it this way, you're right. You know what? That is energy work. I just hadn't thought of it that way.
Oh yeah. Everything's energy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're producing a result through energy, you're doing energy work.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since everything is
You know
energy,
what?
that means everything that goes on in our life is energy work. Then ultimately, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. We're creating our world.
Mm-hmm.
There we go into that mirror effect.
There it is.
Back into my matrix stuff. But like love and happiness, it's a contagious energy.
Mm.
So I was going to give an example I was saying that, it's up to, you're just sending it and that's all you care because you're holding that high vibration. You're holding somebody in this container or sending love to someone that you think could use it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if that person can't receive it, there's no wasted energy. Just bounce off and go somewhere else, wherever it's needed. Love will find its way, right? But I remember one time I was walking into my karate school, because I teach karate too.
Right.
And I always send energy to whoever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll see people in the street. I'm like, I'm sending that guy love you, love you, love you, like that kind of thing. In my mind, I'm not saying it out loud. I'm just sending this energy. Well, I was walking into the building and some girl was passing by and I'm sending her love and I must have smiled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm in this high energy.
Yep.
She actually didn't even look at me. She couldn't confront me.
Mm-hmm.
But she says, "Who are you looking at?" Like really angry,
Right.
And I didn't say anything back. I'm just like, oh, let's give her an extra dose. We got to send this little girl some more. She didn't want to take it in. That's all right. You just keep sending it. Somebody needs to receive it.
You can't make somebody take it in, and ultimately, when they're ready to take something in, they will. But it's not up to us to worry about that. I think you're right. That's actually one of the things that I learned when I was practicing smiling at people when I took my walks. And I still do. Because we have one of the Rails to Trails paths going by our house, so that's where I do all my walking. And invariably, there are a number of people out there, and over time, you just kind of get used to, hey, how you doing? How's it going? You see the same faces often every day. And over time, I began to realize, a couple things. First thing I realized was that because of the work I was doing on myself, I was smiling more often than I realized that I was. And so I would get smiles at the strangest times when I was taking the walks. Like, why are they grinning at me? I got this big hello. Oh, yeah, hi, how are you? Like, what's that all about? Oh, I must be smiling. I didn't realize it. So that's one of the effects. The second one is that when, like you say, when you do a lot of interactive stuff like that with people, and that interactiveness kind of builds its own energy, there is no wasted energy. It just kind of, it multiplies. It's almost like a geometric thing. It just kind of piles on top of itself, so that when you're doing it, it all of a sudden becomes really, really easy. Early on, it was hard. I think that's what my point was. Early on, I had to make an effort to smile, to say hello. I mean, I could do an entire walk and maybe say hello to one person early on, and it was an effort. It was tough, but over time, you get more and more feedback, you get more and more reinforcement, and it becomes easier and easier and easier. So I kind of imagine, I suspect that because you have this long-standing habit of putting out the energy, putting out the love for somebody, it has become so easy for you that you probably don't even have to think about it. You probably just do it. I mean, am I wrong about that?
And you know what? But I have to get better at doing it to myself, right? That's something you can learn, is when to give it to yourself. Because sometimes you get so stuck in stuff, you don't even realize how stuck you are. And then when you do have fortunately, you've got guides and angels that are going to say, make you pay attention to what you're feeling within yourself, then you can then do it to yourself. And you'll note, and even just the fact that you realize, oh my God, how did I get here? You can flip it, right? And you're like, well, let's pull in the love. I need to, oh, I love you, Linda, And then with that mental chatter, it was telling me whatever it was, you're not working hard enough, or who knows what it is, what's going on, or that, if you're comparing to something else, then you can say, well, hold on a second. You let that part of you that knows truly how awesome you are, and you start to, change the conversation to build yourself back up, bring yourself back into that energy. We can do that. We can do that for ourselves at any moment in time, no matter what's going on. And I know that for a fact because I've done it. I had some tough things this year. And I think that's why I built that course that I'm doing, my 7 tips for living in a high vibration, so you can flip your energy no matter what the heck is going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
You can always flip your energy because you have to. In order to break through the thing that's bogging you down, you gotta find ways to get in that higher vibration where all the good stuff can come.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned how it's easy to perhaps do it for others, and you kind of forget to do it for yourself, which is a really, really good point. And it reminded me of do you know who Jeanette Ma is? She's like a coach of coaches. Yeah. You know who she is? Yeah, Cindy's a good friend of hers and so forth. I ended up on she's got some email thing that she's doing right now on receiving. So there's like a 7-day thing in receiving, and the ideas that she has come up with each day are really good ideas, and they kind of remind you always have to be out there to receive. It has to be like an intention for your day. And like one of the ones that she pointed out is so often we'll get a compliment from somebody and we'll deflect it like, oh no, that's nothing, like, no, or somebody or somebody offers to do something for it. And you know what? The day that this particular email came out where it said, if somebody offers to do something for you, let them and thank them. And really, the idea is you're trying to make your life easier. So give yourself the day off, in that sense. And like within an hour of reading that, one of our employees came over to clean the tools for the end of year tool cleaning and sharpening. And I went to take the trash out while he was there. He says, "Oh, I'll take that." And you know what I said? "Oh, no, that's okay." Just an hour before, I'd been told, accept it, and there I didn't accept it. So it shows you have to really be cognizant. You have to be aware and say, "Yeah, of course, thank you for doing that for me."
Yeah. I actually did a video on that a couple of videos ago. If you go to my YouTube, Linda Armstrong, Energy Healer, you can see all about that. But yeah, how can you manifest what you want if you cannot receive?
If you can't receive it, right?
You can't. You just can't.
Yep.
And a lot of us can't receive. And I talk about in the video. I'm not going to do it next. We're almost out of time. How I caught myself, like you just caught yourself, not being able. I always deflected compliments. I could never take them in.
Isn't that crazy how we do that? Well, it is conditioning, but it's still crazy. I mean, you would think that we're deliberate creators. We want to bring stuff into our lives, and then we turn it away. It's like, wait a minute, what's wrong with us?
You know what I wanted to share? I was on somebody else's, this network that I'm a part of, the Mind, Body, Spirit Network. We did a Thanksgiving Day quotes video, right? You can find that on YouTube too. So, but I have them with me right now. I'm going to read them.
Sure,
they're really good.
Okay.
Quotes and toasts, and I always pick really simple ones to the point, but they're really basically all about gratitude. I mean, that's what Thanksgiving is, right?
Right.
So, one of them, I'll just read, I have images here, I'll just read it from, is give thanks for a little, and you will find a lot.
That's good. Yeah.
How easy is that?
That's true.
How easy is that?
Well, it's powerful.
We have the power. We create our own destiny, or we create our own life. Let's just do it. Okay, the next one.
It makes sense. Well, I mean, before you go to the next one, I just want to point out why it makes sense, because there's lots of little things that go on in life. So basically, you're employing yourself, appreciate all of those little things one at a time. And when you do that, you're creating a new habit for yourself because you keep repeating it over and over again.
Want to know something I really, really appreciate every single stuff is called bulletproof coffee. It's a way of making your coffee. I'm actually going to send out a blog post on this for people, where you're adding, some like coconut oil, MCT oil, I think it's called, butter, and unsweetened cocoa powder to your coffee. Okay. And you whip it all up, right? And it gets all full of air and stuff. This thing will flip your vibe. If you wake up feeling a little dull and you drink this drink, because all of those oils and the butter and the fat is for boosting your brain. Oh. So you actually feel amazing. Like, and I'm so grateful for this because I'm like addicted to this stuff now. I wish I could drink a lot of it in a day, but I don't think I could. Anyway, so, here's another one. Let our lives be full of both thanks and giving. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. Thanks and giving.
That's good.
Perfect. That's good. Here's another one. Not what we say about our blessings, but how we use them is the true measure of Thanksgiving.
How we use them.
Yeah, not what we say about our blessings, but how we use them.
In other words, how we milk them, or what do you mean by use them?
I think it's more about like being in gratitude of them and having them expressed through our lives. You know, like these are your blessings, right?
So how you take them in, so to speak, how you kind of let them vibrate inside.
It's not what we say about it, but it's how we use them, like how we apply them, how we actually express them in our lives. You can have blessings and have no gratitude for them, and then what good is that?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. Okay, when you love what you have everything you need.
That's true. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And I have one more. This one is, okay, this is a good one. If the only prayer you said in your whole life was, thank you, that would suffice.
Yeah.
That's gratitude.
That's true.
In fact, I've got goosebumps all over saying that one.
That's what that is. That's gratitude in one quick phrase. That's good.
Thank you.
By the way, Jeffrey has been throwing out a lot of notes, and I haven't acknowledged all of them, but the last one I had to absolutely acknowledge because he said, thank you for the recipe. So apparently someone's going to try your coffee recipe. Jeffrey's going to check that one out. See if you like it. So you know what?
I'm going to be sending something out about it with more detail and, why it's good for you and the exact recipe.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to my website, lovemylife.coach.
Oh, good.
You can opt into, there'll be on the homepage, there's a thing where you can opt in, or you'll get a pop-up where you can get my 7 tips for high vibe living.
Okay. For
feeling good no matter what's going on. Then you'll be on my email list. You'll have those great tips. And you'll get the thing on the coffee.
Get the recipe too. Okay, good. Well, now everybody can get the recipe. Now, I presume that there's a kind of a time limit in terms of how long it's going to be before you actually send that recipe email out. So people need to get onto the list pretty quickly, I would think.
Oh, I'm sending that one out probably Sunday.
Okay, so you got from the moment that we're doing this, and we're doing this 4 p.m. New York time on a Friday, you got basically a day and a half. So make sure you get on that list soon so you can get the recipe.
All right. In fact, I was going to do it sooner, but I'll wait till Sunday to
give people a chance so they can get onto the list. Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah. So. Okay, I do want to get a couple messages in while we have a minute or two left. Just to remind people, if you're not a subscriber, become a subscriber. Join the crew here. Join the team and get your daily dose of happy 11 times a week. And then once you're a subscriber, make sure that you're sharing the fact that you're a subscriber and telling other people about it and saying, hey, I'm listening and this is picking me up, and it'll pick you up too. Something that I see sometimes on Facebook that I think is a clever idea. Instead of sharing generically, share with one person. I see this sometimes on our live streams. Somebody will type somebody else's name, basically to cue them, okay, this is going to show up in their timeline. Take a look at this thing. This is something that I think you should look at. It's a good idea. So type the name of one particular person on a social media page and say, check this thing out. Very good way to do it.
I don't know if you're going to remember this, so I'm going to make sure you do.
Okay.
Next week is the week we're busting
money
beliefs, right?
That's right, okay. Yeah. And we have a lot of signups for this one. This one has gotten a lot of attention.
Some of my promo will talk about being a belief buster. I mean, that's what I do, right? I'm going to bust through these beliefs.
Yeah. And specifically, they're associated with money. So for anyone
specifically for money.
So anyone who's had trouble manifesting money, this is one you don't want to miss. So make sure if you're a member of the Law of Attraction Change My Life group on Facebook, make sure you check out the events and say, yes, I'm going to that particular event. And if you're not a member of the group, join the group. They check out every day who's asked to be a new member. And literally, there are hundreds of people asking to join this group every day. But they have a team that regularly goes through and lets in all the good ones and keeps the trolls out. But they process them pretty quickly. So you want to get into the group so you can be a part of that live stream. Of course, if you don't happen to be a member of the group and you don't hear the live stream, you can always be the podcast subscriber because you still get it that way. You just don't get it with the video, but that's okay. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time next week, and it'll be a great way to help digest the Thanksgiving dinner too.
Yeah.
So.
Right, because it's right after Thanksgiving.
Actually, it's the day after. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So something more to look forward to. That's a good thing. So I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanksgiving off?
Yes, we're not doing any podcasts on Thanksgiving. So yeah, we'll have 2 missing podcasts for the week, but that's okay. We're only doing 9 instead of 11, but there'll be more to come. We'll make up for it with ours.
Maybe all of those people who would have watched need to come on Friday.
Absolutely. Yeah. Join us on Friday. I mean, it's Black Friday, right? It's also, the Black Friday shopping day. It'll be at the end of the day, especially if you're on the East Coast of the United States. So it's a great time to call in or to listen in because you got all your Black Friday shopping done. You're done.
Right.
So, well, I hope you have a great weekend and a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. And we hope that all of our listeners come back and join us. And we'll see you the next time on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.